Hi friends, so this is my series on DPDP Act 2023. In this series, we will learn about how the Act has interpreted certain terms. So we will go through the important definitions. Before that, please note that these particular sessions are only for reference and educational purpose and should not be taken as legal advice. So in this particular slide, we will learn what is data as defined in the DPDP Act. So DPDP Act says data is a representation of information, facts, concepts, opinions or instructions in a manner that is suitable for communication, interpretation or processing by human beings or by automated means. Now we will learn one terminology in this session. What is information? So layman meaning is any knowledge communicated or received. For example, I share my email address during an online sign-up process. That is information. What are facts? Facts are objective realities or truths. Like example, date of birth is my fact. I cannot change it. Concept. Any abstract idea or general norms, like the concept of privacy and its implementation in a cookie consent form is an example of concept. What is opinion? Opinion is personal belief, personal view or judgment. For example, customer providing feedback in an online review form provided to him or her. So that is an example of opinion. What is instruction? Instructions are directives or orders as to how to do a particular thing. For example, a recipe uploaded on a cooking blog. That becomes an example of instruction. Now, this data should be in a manner which is suitable for communication, interpretation, or processing. So, data can be in a form that can be shared or transmitted. For example, a text message sent from one mobile device to another mobile device. That becomes an example of communication. What is interpretation? Data should be capable of being understood or capable of being interpreted. For example, I give you a graph displaying climatic change over a period of time, which can be interpreted by researchers or by common person. So that is an example of interpretation. What is processing? Data should be in a form that can be processed. For example, I give some input data, I feed some input data into a software program that calculates taxes based on the input data, which is say my income and expenses. Now, the data should be in a manner which is suitable for communication, interpretation or processing by human beings or by automated means. So, it should be understood by people. Now, a printed report is there with statistics on paper usage in an office, which can be read and understood by office staff. So that becomes data in a manner suitable by human beings. Another example of automated means is like when data can be processed by a software. For example, some sensor data from a smartwatch, right, which is automatically recorded and analyzed by a health tracking software. So this becomes an example of processing or interpretation or communication by automated means. Now we will learn what is personal data. So the Act defines personal data as any data about an individual who is identifiable by or in relation to such data. So example is name, address, phone number, Aadhaar, PAN number, passport, etc. All this gives me information where I can easily identify the person. So, example, Samira and Pooja, they decide to travel overseas together. Now they book their flights and they submit their passport numbers as details. Now this travel agency will hold all the personal data, as through the passport one can easily identify Samira and Pooja. So this is a slide on what is personal data. So as I mentioned in the earlier slide, this contains name, home address, business address, identity card number, passport number, driving license, income tax number, your PAN number, car registration number, etc., by which I can easily identify the person. Now, this is a perfect example of what is data and what is personal data. Now, say Pooja recently posted a photograph of her new car on social media. While this particular car itself is not personal data, it is data because it is identifying that this is a car. But when I put the plate number, the car number on this particular information, on this particular image, I can easily trace back that this car belongs to a female called Pooja. So this becomes the personal data. Now, what is digital personal data? Digital personal data means personal data in digital form. So when you create an account on an online shopping website, you typically provide details like name, contact information, shipping address, payment details, etc. Now, this information is stored digitally by the website company to facilitate your future purchases, provide personal product recommendations based on your shopping history, communicate with you about order updates or special promotions. So, this is what is digital personal data. In this slide, we will learn about what is personal data breach. So any unauthorized processing of personal data or accidental disclosure, acquisition, sharing, use, alteration, destruction, or loss of access to personal data that compromises confidentiality, integrity, or availability of personal data. Now, what is unauthorized processing of personal data? Unauthorized processing of personal data. If I give you an example, say an employee of a company accesses the customer records. He does not have any legitimate reason to access the information. And now he uses this information of customer records to send unsolicited marketing emails. An example of accidental disclosure will be a company mistakenly emails a spreadsheet containing personal client details to the wrong email address, exposing those client data to unintended recipients. Right? What is acquisition? So, suppose if the company's database gets hacked and the hackers, the unrequired users, they gain access to the information. They acquire the information. What is sharing? So, an example will be an employee shares an confidential document containing personal data of employees with some external party without proper agreement or without proper authorization. That shall be example of personal data breach by sharing. Use a social media platform uses data which is obtained for security purposes to target users with ads without obtaining the consent of that particular user. What is alteration? A cyber attacker or a hacker, say example, gains access to the patient's records in a hospital and then it changes the patient's record like the blood group, etc., which could be harmful. What is destruction? A disgruntled employee, say, deletes all the customer records from a company's database, effectively erasing all the important information. What is loss of access to personal data mean? So ransomware is a virus, right? It is a malware which infects an organization's systems. It will encrypt the personal data files and make them inaccessible unless you get the decryption key, right? So that is loss of access to the personal data, because till that time you do not get the key, the decryption key, you will not be able to access the data. Here please note that even accidental disclosure will be treated as a personal data breach. So organizations will have a huge responsibility on implementing systems to protect personal data breach, so that there is no data breach and no compromise on the parameters of confidentiality, integrity, or availability of personal data. All these three parameters of information, namely confidentiality, integrity, or availability of personal data, has to be protected. Example of confidentiality, say salary details of any person is a confidential information, or password is an example of confidential information. What is integrity? Integrity is honesty. I should not be able to change the contents. Availability is like we have to take, say, example backup. So information should be available at all times. So thank you friends. Here I have tried to touch upon some important definitions which are given in the DPDP Act. In the next session also, I'll try to cover some more definitions. Thank you. So do like, subscribe and share in case if you have liked my session. Thank you very much.